Hello, I'm Michael Wiederman, and welcome to Mindful Professional Development. Today, I would like to spend a few minutes sharing with you something that I find very valuable from this book and from Conscious Leadership as a philosophy, and it's called the Clearing Model. And I don't have any connection to this book or to these authors other than being a big fan. I do certainly recommend the book, and it has so many useful tools and perspectives inside. And one of them is this, the Clearing Model. And what do we mean by that? Well, the clearing model is based on the assumption that we experience the world this way. Things happen out there and we have feelings, reactions to them. And so it feels to us like that's a direct connection, a causal connection. That's just the way it is. But of course, psychologists and therapists are quick to point out that actually everything that happens to us is filtered through our interpretation, our perception, or we could say our story. And that's why I have the feelings and reactions that I do. And of course, that explains why two people can experience or witness the very same thing and have very different reactions because it's being filtered through different stories. And those stories that we create are influenced not only by what happened, but all of the things that go into making us us. That is our personality, our past experiences, all the beliefs and assumptions that we carry around inside our head and are not even aware of. Certainly even our current physiological state and mood. Am I hungry? Am I stressed? Am I, thinking about something that just happened right before this, and that influenced my interpretation of what's going on. So all of that is automatic inside our heads, and we're not really aware of it many times. We just experience the world more. Oops, sorry. Hello, I'm Michael Wiederman, and welcome to Mindful Professional Development. Today, I'd like to spend a few minutes sharing with you a model that I find very useful. It's called the Clearing Model, and it comes from this book, The 15 Commitments of Conscious Leadership. I don't have any connection to the book or to these authors other than being a big fan. There's lots of good tools and perspectives inside the book, and so I highly recommend it. And then here is, of course, one of them, the Clearing Model. Now, the clearing model starts or is based on the premise that we probably experience the world this way, this graphic, that things happen out in the world and we have feelings or reactions. And it seems to us like there's a direct causal connection, not much else going on. I feel the way I do because this happened, or you said this, or didn't do this, or didn't say that. But therapists and psychologists are quick to point out that this is the more accurate graphic or model, that things happen out there in the world, but they're filtered through our perceptions, our interpretations, we could say our story, and that's then what determines our feelings or our reactions. And notice that if our story was only influenced by what happened out in the world, then we would just need this model that would be accurate. But instead, our story is influenced by so many things that don't have to do with what just happened or what's happening out in the world. It has to do with who I am, my personality, my background, my past experiences. I carry around lots of beliefs and assumptions from my lifetime that I'm not even fully aware of, that they influence how I feel and judge things, but I'm not aware. Even things like what happened right before this event, or what is my current physiological state and mood? Am I hungry? Am I stressed? And those kinds of things. So because all of that is our mind, and we are our mind, we interpret the world with our mind, we're not aware of just how all those things are influencing our reactions. So instead, it feels much more direct. Things happen and I have feelings in response. But of course, if we can now recognize the importance of our story, then we recognize there's lots of room for subjectivity, lots of room for differences in people's stories, even when they experience the same thing or witness the same thing. And so when we're trying to resolve some kind of conflict or communicate more clearly or be more intimate with somebody, then we can use this model to say, how can I help share what's inside my head? Because the other person is not aware of how I arrived at the feelings or reactions that I have. So the clearing model provides a structured way to do that, and certainly can be used when there's some kind of conflict or misunderstanding. But like I inferred a moment ago, or implied a moment ago, it can also be used just because we want to be more intimate with somebody and have them know us to a better degree. So here's the clearing model in terms of the steps. We want to make sure that we're going to have this conversation, even if it's going to be brief, have it when it's in a good time, meaning that we both have our full attention, the two folks involved, that the setting is private, that ideally we're both in the right mindset, to be able to have a genuine conversation and not get defensive or misinterpret things or feel stressed or rushed or whatever the case might be. So is this a good time and setting? And if we both agree, then we also want to communicate to the other person that, hey, I want to have a chat with you because something happened recently, or I had some thoughts recently that bothered me, and I really want to clear that up. So what we're trying to communicate is that I'm not implying that we're going to have this talk because I want to blame you, I want to make you feel badly. I want to repair something that is either feels broken to me or, feel better about our reaction, our interaction, our relationship, our working together, whatever the case might be. So making it clear through your body language, your tone, and your words that this is a positive thing, that I want to have this conversation. It's not meant to be further conflict. And then we start with trying to recall the facts of the event or the interaction that we're focusing on. And here I notice, I put notice trying to describe it the way it would be captured by a video. That is, trying to be as objective and fact-based as possible. Now, because of course that's difficult because we said everything's filtered through our story, including our memory. But we want to make sure that at least we're agreeing about what was said or not said, or what happened or didn't happen, so that we're at least talking about the same thing to begin with. Because if we're not remembering things the right way, the same way, then that's going to be causing further kinds of misunderstanding, right? So trying to say, do you remember it that way? Oh, okay, I remember it this way. So remember that when that happened. And then you say, well, my interpretation, my perception, my story, but basically like how you made sense out of whatever that interaction or event was, right? So you're trying to share your thoughts and not get to the feelings yet, but your thoughts, your interpretation, sort of the mental work that's went behind, went on in the background when this occurred or when you thought about it later. And then you share your feelings. And that led me to feel frustrated or disappointed or angry or whatever the case might be. And usually if we stop even at number 5 and pause and allow the person to respond, they'll often apologize and say, oh, I'm sorry, that was not how I intended it. I'm sorry you felt frustrated. Or they might say, well, technically, yeah, I did mean it that way. And so, but now we have this open conversation, this dialogue where we can resolve how we each had different motives, different stories, whatever the case might be. But there's also the possible 6th step where we could end things after sort of talking about each other's stories and interpretations by asking explicitly for what I would like or what I would need in the future. Now, of course, the other person can refuse or agree, but not actually carry it out. We don't have any control, but at least we have expressed what it is that I would like to see in the future. And then it's up to that person. But hopefully I can sleep better at night knowing that I did my part to go through this process and share my story and my feelings and so forth, so that the other person had a chance to understand me, to respond, and hopefully react differently or interact differently with me in the future. Well, thank you very much, and I look forward to hearing from you soon.